Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric, and if you're ever wondering why Tomb Raider never came out on the N64 back in the day, the developer going by the name of Snake is here to right a historical wrong. That is because they sent me over their work-in-progress build of Tomb Raider ported over the Nintendo 64, and the full motion video you're seeing here is not something I borrowed from a PlayStation 1 version of the game. This is FMV running on the N64, and it is running absolutely amazingly well, and considering not many games ever got FMV on a cartridge-based system, Resident Evil 2 being the most famous, seeing this run and be done by a sole developer absolutely insane, and I love to see it. Just keep in mind as we go through the footage and the gameplay in this video that I captured myself, this is not a final product. It definitely has more to go, and the frame rate's not going to be 100% persistent the entire time. That is because Snake let me know that they're still working on both performance improvements as well as visual improvements, and those are going to be coming in future versions of the game. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But the fact that Tomb Raider works so well on the N64, even if it isn't finished, is not only a testament to Snake's coding ability, but it's a testament to the N64 being able to handle a lot of these fun projects. Although I will say the one thing I've always hated about Tomb Raider is those wolves make the most sad dog noise ever, and I wish that no video game actually had you do stuff like that. It really isn't a criticism, but as an owner of two dogs, I always feel bad about that. But when the gorillas and the tigers come out, never had those as pets, so they know what they did, and they definitely have it coming. But all jokes aside, we're not here to talk about what animals should or shouldn't be in Tomb Raider. We're here to talk about the fact that Tomb Raider is running on N64. I captured some of this footage via REs and some of it via the Mr. FPGA N64 without overclocking. Now, I could have actually overclocked this and gotten a few more frames out of it, but I wanted to basically just talk about this at its stock settings so you can kind of get a sense of how well it's running on quote-unquote base N64 hardware. And I will say, even again, if it's not finished, this is absolutely some technically impressive stuff. Because Tomb Raider is not a small game, it definitely isn't a type of game that is going to be very small interior levels. This thing opens up absolutely massively in spots, and the fact that the N64 is even hanging with it this well right now is just impressive, and I'm sure this was not an easy task to complete. Some levels definitely are running a little bit smoother than others, and obviously when you're in more of an enclosed environment, that frame rate's definitely going to pick up. I've always wondered how good of a shot Lara is here, because picking off a bat mid-flight, definitely probably not something easy to do in real life, but I'm sure somebody's done it, maybe even accidentally once. Now, I will say the textures here and everything else on N64 do look great, and of course because you do have the ability to have no polygon wobble compared to the PlayStation 1 version, it definitely looks a little bit tighter and more cleaned up in spots. Of course, it's still going to look like the original Tomb Raider because it is just the original Tomb Raider, so it's not like the geometry is changing at all, it just isn't really wiggling around. And I always love this level here where they basically completely ripped from Indiana Jones boulder that is going to roll down that ramp. But as we get into this open area and just kind of use the free camera to take a look around a little bit, this is absolutely stunning and really shows that something like Tomb Raider should have come over to N64 back in the day. And honestly, I'm not sure why it didn't. I don't know if there was some sort of exclusivity agreement in place with PlayStation when this released, or they just decided to go with the most successful console. So if you do know the answer to that question, definitely leave it down below. I would be curious. But the color rendition here, the movement, everything else, it really just does feel like you're playing Tomb Raider, because exactly what you're actually doing, you are just playing Tomb Raider. And don't forget, just like Takashi's castle, trying to stand to the side when the boulder rolls down the hill, definitely not a good strategy to be involved in whatsoever. But it was funnier to let Lara get hit by the boulder than it was to get out of the way, because obviously I knew it was coming. I played this game when it released back in the 90s, absolutely loved it, and I still remember most of it to this day. So something like this on N64 really shows that the N64 is in its new golden era. We have the Analog 3D, we have the Mr. FPGA core, we have the Mod Retro M64 on the way from the same developer of the FPGA core for Mr. And we have so many new exciting demos and games. So it's really not surprising at all to see something like Tomb Raider come to the N64, because honestly, N64 has been getting everything all the time now. Let's go into the first of two soundtrack samples. Again, Tomb Raider has more sound effects than it does music, but go ahead and listen. I'll be right back to show you more of the levels running. So obviously that is non-final send, and you do get a little bit of the hitching when you're actually in the inventory menu, but I'm sure again that's stuff that can all be cleaned up because Snake said he was working on more efficiencies in the code to get this running quicker, but honestly that is pretty much the prescribed development process for any project like this. The first thing you do is get the game working, the second thing you do is get the game working correctly, and the third thing you would do is bug fixing and performance improvements. You don't need to have this thing running at 60 frames per second and then crashing every 10 seconds. You need to get the game running relatively stably before you try to get those improvements in. And I will say I did have a couple crashes along the way, but the developer warned me that was definitely something that was going to be happening. But I love taking a look at these work in development projects because it really shows you how these things actually get produced. Because a lot of times I love to say in videos I am way more of a fan of how things get made than the actual end product. Now don't get me wrong, I love Tomb Raider and I'll definitely play it again on N64, but the development process, all of the coding, the software development kits people use, and the hardware it's tested on, and these kind of iterative tests really are what I love to see because I am very fascinated by how things get done, and then I enjoy them when they're actually finished up. And this gorilla here definitely just absolutely destroyed Laura. He went all Hulk strong on her for sure. And you even get the small FMV video before we go into Laura's house, kind of the tutorial level of the game. So again, this is just absolutely incredible to see running on something like N64, and it's one of those games that is iconic, and if you've never played it, I can't recommend it enough. Sure, Laura controls like a panzer tank, that was just kind of the style of the times, as Abe Simpson would say, but otherwise this game definitely still holds up. It's a fun story, and obviously it launched a character in a franchise that we still have today. And again, I'm just surprised that this never actually came out on N64 back in the day. There was the Sega Saturn version, there was the PlayStation 1 version, but N64 just got left out in the cold wilderness to not have a Tomb Raider. And I do know, I believe it was rumored to be coming up back in the day. I feel like I saw it in some magazines being previewed, but I don't know if it was the cartridge cost or the fact that they just didn't feel like there was a big enough install base on N64 to actually justify making the cartridges. That's probably lost to history at this point in time. But as we go through the mansion here, it is fun to see this game with none of the polygon wobbling that you get on the PlayStation 1 version. It just makes it look like a little bit neater and more concise version of the game. And if you felt like this game controlled a little bit wonky back in the day, there's nothing here in the port that's going to make you think suddenly Laura is nimble and quick. That was always what they sold her as, but again, kind of moved more like an 18-wheeler than an actual human being. But honestly, that's just what we got back in the day outside of Super Mario 64. Basically, every single character in 3D moved a little bit like they were going through sludge, and it really was the era where they were basically inventing how 3D games worked. And with so much platforming and verticality in something like Tomb Raider, it definitely always had a very heavy feel to it, but it's one that I still enjoy to this day. And going into this open area here again with these large cavernous actual volumes, it does look stunning and it does run relatively well for the fact that again it isn't finished. I could have overclocked this thing, but I wanted to get a look at it at stock speeds. But one more soundtrack sample, I'll be right back with a little bit more Tomb Raider and N64. So yeah, big thanks to Snake for sending me this preview build, and when this thing releases I will definitely let everyone know, because there's a lot of fascination right now with the N64 hardware and games in general. It's almost like the N64 is back in some ways in 2025 and especially 2026. Old hardware is being rediscovered all the time, a lot of fans of it are coming back, a lot of us never stop playing, and a lot of people are discovering the platform for the first time. Because I like to say recently in videos, a lot of modern gamers are getting a little bit bored with what they're being offered, and they go back into the retro back catalogs to try to find more fun games to play versus the stuff that's coming out today. So stuff like this definitely has its place in the pantheon of N64 projects, and the fact that it works this well this early, and it looks and plays and identifies as Tomb Raider visually is just absolutely stunning. And I can't wait to see what other stuff comes to N64 this year. But I always love asking these questions. If you could snap your fingers right now and make one game appear at N64 that was never there before, which one would it be? There's a lot of good candidates and everything else, but I'd love to see a full conversion to Crash Bandicoot. Short of that, we're done. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and tell me what your favorite Tomb Raider game is as well. I would be curious. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.